Well, good morning, everyone. Hi, everyone. I'm Perla. This is Perla. Yeah, I'm Perla. This is Lucas's girlfriend. Not anymore. We broke up. You broke up? Yeah. I'm so sad. Well, I'll tell you what. We're gonna do something more interesting. Okay? We got to go back to the episode reading. Okay. You want me to read? No. Oh. It'll be a little depressing with a little bit more upread. Not okay. No. Okay. Bye, everyone. It's nice to see you. I gotta go. Bye. Wait, goodbye. And there it is, folks. This is episode 20. The name of the chapter is Christian Shark. It's chapter 17. And this gives you the whole picture and what it's all about. So let's go. Let's start. Christian Shark, at your service, he answers as he removes his raccoon-tailored hat and does a little polite bow. Marie doesn't respond at first as Champ speaks up and says, I never thought I'd ever see you again, considering. Christian feels the awkwardness of the meeting as well, as he quickly takes notice of Bailey, who is looking on and not understanding why he is getting this reaction from Champ and Marie. He removes his Frontier character card from his pocket and instantly changes back to his more casual clothes. Bailey begins to remember this man now. He was one of the villains called GQ. His power was the ability to be any kind of trade or specialist person by simply removing a playing card from his special power deck in his back pocket and placing it in the front pocket of his shirt. Not only would he have that person's skill and expertise, he would look the part. He would always say that the clothes make the man. In his case, that was especially true. So, what is true? You are alive as I hoped and expected, says Christian, even-toned as he carefully eyes Bailey. You thought I was alive and not dead? Asked Bailey, standing only one step from the dark shadows. Ah, yeah, I remember it like it was yesterday. He pauses and walks comfortingly close to Bailey and says warmly, Judge and your daughter Marie were mourning your demise by the lake. When they explained to me about what had happened and showed me the timepiece from your timeout uniform, I told them about the mysterious Bigfoot creature here on Notlam and their ability to dimension jump back to the earth at the first sign of trouble. Wonderful creatures they are. But I'm confused, lots. How did you get back here to Notlam? I was under the impression that all of the portholes were destroyed. Well, I don't know anything about that. All I know is that Dean Fitzpatrick and Captain John managed to capture a Bigfoot on Earth and with my timeout power intact somehow transported us back here to Notlam. At first I didn't want to go. I was afraid. But then they told me I needed to come back and help save Judge and the others. That's why we're here, right? Christian is at once uncomfortable and is growing more so as Bailey explains. I hope we all here don't misunderstand what we're doing. I hope you all have been properly informed as Christian Shark looks perturbed over at Loiso, as if he had failed to do so. Excuse me. Bailey does not want to run the risk of Christian does not want to run the risk of alienating Bailey and the others as he turns back to face Bailey. I'm sorry, Miss Wilder, if no one told you yet. Your husband Judge is dead. We're all here to save Champ's older brother Sly. I'm sorry. Bailey nods that she understands and that she had already been informed by her about her husband's demise. She understood the mission and is willing to do whatever she can to help the others. Bailey's eyes begin to water as her face becomes swelled and even perched in pain. She lowers her head and escapes by taking one step backward into the dark shadows. Christian kneels close to the fire and looks up at her with sore eyes. He swallows deeply and with regret he says, I'm sorry, lass. I didn't mean to make you cry or sad. Speaking of which, says Marie, interrupting him with hostile irritation in her voice, where's Baby Doll? Did you finally break her heart too and she left you? Or did you just abandon her this time? Making that poor girl fend for herself or to worry herself to death about you? Marie's acidity in her voice and the stabbing of her eyes leaves no doubt how she feels about this one Christian shark fellow. He lowers his head and stands up and moves slowly over to Marie, unafraid. Marie, at this given moment, seems to be a complete clone of her belligerent Aunt Boxy. What a sad and somber and soft voice Christian ekes out. Baby Doll is a wonderful and forgiving person. I know I have hurt her in the past, and I'm sorry for that. I really am. But that's all going to change. I'm going to be different this time. It's going to be better between us than it's ever been before. You'll see. I promise. Bailey looks over to Marie, who shows no sign of softening as her bitterness or disbelief continues. She glances over to Bailey and returns his eyes to the fire in surrender. A few seconds pass before he inhales deeply and makes another appeal. To answer your question, we have been living apart for the last few years now, and I was hoping we could again work things out again very soon. At least we're talking now. Really? Says Marie with biting sarcasm. That's a change. Honey, please, prods Champ gently as he places his hand on her tense shoulders. How many times will this be? 6, 7, 8 times? Do you even remember? Are you keeping count? This says Marie. I know I've lost count years ago. I've forgotten how many chances she's given you, angrily denounces Marie, breathing each word and syllable with the malady and the forebodings of an angry lawyer. Her eyes embolden and her nostrils flare with building intensity the longer she looks at him. The looks are not passive or indifferent, but take on an intense glare that she had ever seen before her daughter, says Bailey. While Marie seems to grow taller with righteous indignation with each passing breath, poor Christian seems to be shrinking and fading as he slowly backs away and sits by the fire alone. He stares at the fire as if hypnotized by the flames and says nothing. She has made her stand out with no wiggle room. She's about to speak, but it finds it difficult. A quick punch to the inside of her hand with her right hand emboldens him to try again. Yet he is reluctant. A few more seconds passes as he speaks in a low, soulless voice without looking up. All of you best go inside the tent and get some rest. Baby doll will be here in the morning to take us to where we need to go. Marie doesn't say a word as she quickly turns and heads for the tent and goes inside. Champ stands up slowly and says goodbye to Loiso, who begins to tread slowly down the darkened hill, showing signs of concern that does not escape the notice of Champ. Bailey is not sure what she should do at this point and remains standing waiting for direction. Marie disappears inside the tent alone while Champ watches Loiso disappear in the shadows of the night. Bailey decides to move out of the shadows and sits across from Christian. He continues to have his head buried in his chest, deep in thought, and says nothing. She's not sure if he didn't hear her or was too upset to acknowledge her. Bailey reaches for her neck and removes her Paula pearl necklace and begins to nervously touch them as if they were prayer beads. Champ returns to the fire and sits next to Bailey on an old, tired tree trunk. She looks over to Champ and sees he's clearly deep in thought and can only guess what he's wearing so heavily on his mind. Bailey looks over to him, smiles weakly, and with a supportive look on her face says, "Go to your wife, son. I'll be here in a while. I just want to warm myself first by the fire." Champ looks at Christian, who is staring aimlessly into the fire, not moving or giving any indication of listening to him. He says goodnight to his mother-in-law and disappears into the tent. Seconds later, as Bailey is the first to speak to break the ice, she clears her throat and says softly, "Are you up to talking?" He lifts his head slowly, midst with eyes continue to show signs of deep hurt. His looks take on a hostile rebuttal to Bailey's kindness. His mood tempered to somberness as he examines the countenance of Bailey's while his own genuine interest in him. He feels a tiny bit of redemption of his guilt as he appreciates that her questions to him was not going to be a launching of more missiles of malice against him. As far as he was concerned, Marie's anger toward him was quite sufficient. "Sure," he says as a smile graces his face and he turns to face her. He then reaches into his back pocket and pulls out a small pipe and puts it in his mouth. Bailey waits for him to begin as Christian lights his pipe, takes a few quick puffs, and begins to draw his thoughts together. At first, it seems as all is going to do is smoke and not speak. Bailey sees how uncomfortable this is for him, and she can certainly sympathize him regarding family discord. After all, her first husband's family, the Winchesters, had put her through this kind of catch-22 position many times before. No matter what she said or did, she was always going to be that stupid little girl that seduced their own innocent, naive little son from his family. Bailey remembered the constant, accusive eyes and the casting of dispersion that were always tossed her way by them. Even when they pretended to be nice, it was never veiled enough about their contempt for her. No matter what she ever said or did, they were never going to accept her. She was an outsider, and she was always going to be viewed as such. Whether it was because she was neither one of the true-blooded royalties of the chosen elite rich in history, or the Bostonian culture of her people, she didn't know. Bailey knew this would always be a wart on her nose to them, and many would whisper of her as being the black sheep of the family, which would always be the cross she was to bear. She remembered overhearing some old ladies at her wedding and how the Winchesters were going to have to keep this one buried deep inside the family closet for a long good time. Growing up, her family was never like this. While they were not rich or socially active, they were at least genuine, would never act like these people. In truth, she never expected to be thought of as like this by anyone, least of all by her family's family. What she did come to realize was that they never had any intention to really get to know her and make her life like a real family. You help people and you don't look down on them, regardless of the status of life. No matter what, Bailey is reminded of all this as she decides to find out something good about this man sitting in front of her, no matter how small or insignificant it was. After all, Baby Doll had been impressed with him enough to fall in love with him and marry the man. And the story will continue from there, where she gets more information. And this concludes episode 20. Episode 21 coming up. Thanks for listening.